Foundation, by Isaac Asimov. Part 1. The Psychohistorians. An Encyclopedia Galactica article describes Hari Seldon, a famous mathematician who lived around the year 12,000 in the galactic era. Gale Dornick, a young man, wrote a biography about him. Gale had never been to Trantor before and was thrilled to visit. Although Gale had seen Trantor on video, seeing it in person was the most exciting moment of his academic career. The hyperspace jump was smooth, calming his nerves. Disappointed that he couldn't see Trantor from space, Gale eagerly anticipated exploring the city upon landing. Gale landed, got a visa, and took a taxi to the Luxor Hotel. He couldn't see the sky during the tunnel ride. In Trantor, a densely populated city in the 13th millennium, Gale missed a planetary tour but visited an observation tower instead. He met Gerald, who explained Trantor's reliance on underground energy. Gale mentioned his job with psychohistorian Hari Seldon and was shocked to find Seldon waiting in his room. Psychohistory is a branch of math that studies how large human groups react to social and economic stimuli. The Seldon functions are crucial to psychohistory. Gale meets Seldon, who predicts disaster and asks Gale's opinion of Trantor. Seldon demonstrates psychohistory using a calculator pad, showing the Empire's condition and future destruction. Trantor's vulnerability and inability to defend itself increase, with a 92.5% chance of total destruction within 3 centuries. Seldon reveals his project is being investigated, with a 1.7% chance of him being executed. Gale agrees to meet Seldon at the university the next day. The Commission of Public Safety, once a force of order in the Imperium, is now controlled by powerful families and serves to maintain the status quo. The decline of the Commission begins with the trial of Hari Seldon. Gale Dornick, a provincial of Synax, is detained and questioned about his involvement with the Seldon project. He denies any interest in politics and claims ignorance about the destruction of Trantor. Gale demands his rights and a hearing with the Emperor, but is told there is no recourse. His lawyer, Lors Avakim, reveals that Dr. Seldon predicted Gale's arrest and assures him of the project's potential success. However, Gale realizes that psychohistory cannot predict individual futures. Avakim also discloses that Dr. Seldon has been arrested. The chapter ends with Gale feeling isolated. Dr. Seldon stayed calm during his 3-day trial, which was private. The Commission of Public Safety questioned him about his project and the number of people involved. Seldon clarified that there were 50 mathematicians, including Gale, and that the figure of 100,000 included women and children in various roles. He explained that his prediction of Trantor's destruction was based on psychohistory, a concept only understood by mathematicians. Seldon denied any intention to undermine the imperial government and emphasized that his project aimed to minimize the effects of the destruction and preserve knowledge. The trial was adjourned. Avakim nodded to Gale and whispered to Seldon before they were separated by guards as the cry of adjournment sounded. The following day, Seldon and Gale found themselves alone with the commission, seated at a table with 5 judges. Cigars were offered, but Gale declined. Seldon expressed his concern about his lawyer's absence, only to be informed by the commissioner that they were no longer having a trial, but rather discussing the safety of the state. Emperor Ling Chen took the floor, questioning why they should worry about events centuries in the future. Seldon explained his concern for humanity, prompting Chen to suggest executing him to eliminate the future. Seldon countered that killing him would actually speed up Trantor's downfall. Chen proposed the option of Seldon working on his encyclopedia from another planet, to which Seldon agreed, prompting Chen to grant him 2 minutes to make arrangements. They rode in silence towards the university. Seldon assured Gale that his execution wouldn't affect the fall, but remained silent when asked about his exile. Gale struggled to exit the taxi due to his weakened state. They arrived at the unique university buildings and were informed about martial law and the 6-month deadline to prepare for departure to Terminus. Seldon took Gale to his spy-proof office and showed him a secret compartment with microfilms. Seldon explained their plan involved manipulating others and that he had been preparing for Terminus for 2.5 years. Gale questioned why they couldn't have control on Trantor, but Seldon explained the benefits of Terminus. Seldon revealed his impending death and successors to carry out the plan. Part 2. The Encyclopedists, 50 years have passed. Terminus, settled by encyclopedists, faces isolation as the royal governor of Anacreon declares himself king. Louis Pyron, working on the Encyclopedia Foundation, rejects Hardin's request for a meeting, not wanting to interfere in politics. Hardin warns about Terminus protection and mentions an envoy from Anacreon before leaving abruptly. Anselm Hot Roderick, envoy of Anacreon, arrived at the spaceport and met Salvor Hardin. They exchanged blasters and headed to Cyclopedia Square, cheered by the crowd. Pyron and Hot Roderick didn't get along. Hot Roderick wasn't interested in the encyclopedia and bragged about his war exploits instead. They discussed the uncertain future of Terminus and the possibility of Anacreon taking over. Hardin highlighted the lack of resources, while Pyron emphasized its scientific importance. Hot Roderick left abruptly. Hardin revealed that he let Hot Roderick talk to uncover Anacreon's true intentions. He also found out that Anacreon and the Periphery no longer had nuclear power. Hardin, the mayor of Terminus, held a significant stake in the journal and decided to attend a meeting of the Board of Trustees. Pyron, the chairman, announced that Lord Dorwin, Chancellor of the Empire, would be visiting soon. Hardin questioned Dorwin's ability to handle the Anacreonic threat, causing tension among the board members. Hardin argued for military protection, but the board was more focused on the encyclopedia. Frustrated with their lack of action, Hardin boldly stated that the Galactic Empire was on the verge of collapse. The meeting took an unexpected turn when Jord Farah mentioned the upcoming opening of the Vault of Hari Seldon, which could potentially hold a message offering a solution. The board members were unsure about the vault's significance. Hardin, with his knowledge of psychology, contemplated the possible implications of the vault opening, and remained quiet for the rest of the meeting. Hardin urgently searched for Lord Dorwin and Pyron, finally locating them in a dimly lit room. Lord Dorwin seemed surprisingly interested in an encyclopedia that Hardin had worked on, sparking a conversation about the origins of humanity and Lord Dorwin's passion for archaeology. Hardin seized the opportunity to inquire about a recent power plant meltdown on Planet V of Gamma Andromeda, but Lord Dorwin dismissed it as a minor issue that had been resolved through replacements and repairs. Hardin also brought up the problem of nuclear power loss in the independent kingdoms of the Periphery, only to be met with Lord Dorwin's view of them as uncivilized. Hardin persisted in discussing important matters, but Lord Dorwin insisted on postponing it for another day. The Board of Trustees of the Encyclopedia Foundation meets to discuss the King of Anacreon's ultimatum. Mayor Hardin reveals that the Empire and Anacreon have no power over each other according to their treaty. He accuses Lord Dorwin of providing false information. Hardin suggests not welcoming Anacreon and waiting for the vault to open in 6 days. He urges the board to think independently and not rely solely on authority. Hardin leaves, sensing a bigger plot. Mayor Hardin and Johann Lee strategize the coup, emphasizing the need for boldness. They believe the Board of Trustees will be powerless afterward. Lee questions why the board hasn't intervened, but Hardin explains their inability to recognize the revolt. Despite his doubts, Hardin trusts Lee to carry out their plans. Hardin briefly reflects on his uncertainties, but dismisses them and drinks water. In the vault, Hardin noticed the abundance of chairs and strategically chose a corner seat, distancing himself from the others. The board members huddled and whispered, except for Jord Farah, who remained composed. Suddenly, the lights dimmed and a wheelchair-bound figure emerged in a glass cubicle. This figure introduced itself as Hari Seldon, explaining its physical limitations. Seldon unveiled the truth about the Encyclopedia Foundation's true intentions, to establish the Foundation as the foundation of the future Second Galactic Empire. Seldon emphasized that Terminus was in a critical state and action was imperative. After Seldon vanished and the lights brightened, Pyron acknowledged Hardin's insight and scheduled a meeting for their next steps. Hardin knew it was too late for the board, as Lee's men now held power. However, he also understood that the solution to their crisis was glaringly obvious. Part 3. The Mayors. 30 years have passed. Mayor Hardin is visited by a group of young councilmen, led by Sef Cermak, who criticize his foreign policy. Cermak suggests that Terminus should attack first to strengthen themselves. Hardin defends his policy of appeasement, explaining his strategy of playing the four kingdoms against each other. After the councilmen leave, Hardin tells his advisor, Johann Lee, that Ambassador Verisov is returning. Lee expresses concern over their secretive nature and the uncertain outcome of their strategy. Hardin teases Lee about joining Cermak's party, and they decide to have lunch together. Poly Verisov, the high priest of Anacreon and ambassador to the Foundation, disguises himself as Jan Smite to meet with Mayor Hardin. He warns Hardin about Prince Regent Wenus's impending attack on the Foundation and seeks their advice. Verisov proposes revealing the Foundation's plan to the Council or confronting Anacreon, but Hardin trusts in the plan and prefers to let events unfold naturally. Hardin worries that he may have influenced the timing of the crisis and plans to travel to Anacreon when it commences. Verisov suggests they spend some time relaxing, but they must be cautious not to be recognized by the new political party in the Foundation. They have a quick drink and still have important responsibilities to attend to. In ancient times, emperors visited Anacreon's viceregal palace to challenge the Nyackbird. But Anacreon's fame had declined. King Leopold I was interrupted by his uncle, Wenus, who urged him to dismiss his courtiers. Wenus revealed an upcoming war with the Foundation, believing they possessed power that rightfully belonged to Anacreon. Leopold hesitated before agreeing to join the war. Wenus reminded Leopold of his semi-divine status and encouraged him to play an active role. Leopold left with worries about the future and the impact on his family. Louis Bort returns from Anacreon, reporting that their mission is doomed as the authoritarian religion has gained control. The priesthood now rules the Foundation science, while the people blindly believe in the divine right of the king. Troubling rumors circulate, suggesting that Hardin may be in cahoots with Anacreon, and there are preparations for a battlecruiser. Bort's frustration mounts as he remains uncertain about when Anacreon will launch its attack. Levi Norast arrives and drops a bombshell. Hardin is heading to Anacreon. This revelation prompts the group to contemplate impeaching him. Johann Lee fretted over the snow hindering their groundcar's progress. Mayor Hardin, however, showed no concern for his reputation and urgently desired to reach Anacreon. Their conversation revolved around weather conditioning terminus and the trouble caused by Cermak in the city council. To confuse their adversaries, Hardin proposed announcing the opening of Hari Seldon's time vault during the council meeting. Lee expressed doubt about its believability, but Hardin dismissed his concerns and departed for the spaceship, leaving Lee behind. Salvor Hardin arrived on Anacreon the day before the coronation, a vast kingdom spanning 25 stellar systems and home to billions of people. From the sidelines, he observed the grand event, but it was during a private meeting with Regent Wenus that things took a turn. Wenus unveiled his plan to attack the Foundation, but Hardin had a surprise of his own. He informed Wenus that the planet was under an interdict, causing all the priests to go on strike. The sudden loss of power and the angry mob outside the palace forced Wenus to retreat. Hardin, remaining calm and confident, knew that the Foundation's fleet was on its way. To further solidify his position, he showed Wenus a hyperwave relay for communication. Theo Aporat becomes head priest attendant on the Wenus flagship and uncovers a sinister plan to attack the Foundation. He exposes the mission and removes the commander, cursing the ship and activating the curse from the Argolid temple. Aporat confronts Prince Lefkin, asserting his authority and commanding him to lead the fleet back to Anacreon. Reluctantly, Lefkin obeys and contacts Anacreon as Aporat instructed. Prince Lefkin announces Anacreon's return on the televisor, demanding an end to the war with the Foundation. Hardin remains composed, while Wenus and King Leopold are taken aback. Lefkin threatens to destroy the palace and imprison Wenus if his demands are not met. The televisor goes silent, revealing Hardin's visible aura. Hardin shares a fable with Wenus about a horse and a man teaming up to defeat a wolf. Wenus grows agitated and commands his soldiers to shoot Hardin, but they refuse. Wenus fires a nuclear blast at Hardin, but it harmlessly absorbs into his force field. In a tragic twist, Wenus accidentally kills himself with another shot. Hardin reflects on Wenus's actions and his belief in taking direct action. The time vault was crowded with men awaiting Hari Seldon. Hardin remembered when only 6 people showed up for Seldon's first appearance. Cermak and Bort, who once opposed Hardin, now joined in the vote of confidence. Lee fretted over Selden's potential failure and the annexation of the Four Kingdoms. Selden arrived, spoke about the Foundation's progress and the danger of regionalism, mentioned another Foundation in another galaxy, and departed. The attendees were left to tackle the future's challenges. Lee worried about Selden's return, but Hardin preferred it to be after their time. Part 4. The Traitors. 55 years have passed. In this chapter, we meet the traitors, who are always ahead of the Foundation. Limar Ponietz, a traitor, receives a call and gets a confidential message from Les Gorm. The message reveals a traitor imprisoned on Asquan. Ponietz decides to go to Asquan despite the challenges. He tells Gorm about his expulsion from the priesthood and realizes that Eskil Gorov is actually a Foundation agent. 2 weeks had passed since Ponietz and Gorov arrived on Asquan. As they approached the planet, warships from the Galactic Empire intercepted them. Navigating through officials took a week before they were able to reach the Grand Master. Standing before him, Ponietz was accused of trespassing, and the Grand Master warned of Gorov's potential death sentence. Ponietz tried to negotiate, mentioning the Foundation's wealth, but the Grand Master insisted on the ancestral blessing. Despite the refusal to let Ponietz speak to Gorov, he pleaded for mercy, arguing for Gorov's spiritual consolation. The Grand Master considered Ponietz's request. Eskil Gorov is surprised by Limar Ponietz's unexpected arrival in his cell. Ponietz reveals that he has been sent to be Gorov's spiritual advisor, and they discuss the Grand Master's ransom demands. Gorov instructs Ponietz to promise the Grand Master any amount of gold he desires and then return to the Foundation to obtain it. Gorov reveals their ultimate goal of creating a religion-controlled commercial empire. Despite his doubts, Ponietz agrees to take on the task of ransoming Gorov. As they prepare to leave the cell, guards suddenly appear. The Grand Master accuses Ponietz of bribery, but Ponietz unveils a device that can transform iron into gold. He demonstrates its power by turning buckles into gold, convincing the Grand Master. Despite one counselor's objection, Ponietz suggests using the gold to adorn shrines. The Grand Master decides to keep the gold as a hostage and detain Ponietz for 30 days. The counselors agree, and Ponietz reflects on the influence of religious persuasion. Ponietz and Farrell meet to discuss Farrell's counsel position. Ponietz offers him wealth and power with the transmuter machine. Farrell raises secrecy concerns and negotiates payment guarantee. Gorov was released and replaced by yellow gold, escorted by sleek ships. He wasn't satisfied with the transmuter, but Ponietz assured him it was temporary. Gorov wanted to sell something more valuable than just gold, but Ponietz argued that the transmuter would be beneficial in the long run. Ponietz revealed their involvement in a deal with Farrell's mining estates, using the transmuter to collect tin as profit. Gorov was confused, but Ponietz explained they had blackmailed Farrell by recording him using the transmuter. Farrell believed they were capable of anything and agreed to the deal. Gorov questioned Ponietz's morals, but Ponietz shrugged it off. Part 5. The Merchant Princes. 70 years have passed. Hober Mallow, a traitor-turned-merchant prince, is told by Jorain Sut, the mayor's secretary, that 3 trade ships have vanished in the Corellian Republic, potentially due to nuclear weapons. Sut suspects the Corellians or treason within the Foundation. Mallow is asked to investigate discreetly as a traitor. Mallow agrees and leaves, leaving Sut uncertain about his true motives. Publius Manlio, the foreign secretary and primate of the church, meets with Jorain Sut in his apartment. Sut expresses concerns about sending out a traitor, fearing potential betrayal. He explains that the Foundation is facing a political crisis and a new opponent with nuclear power. Sut believes these events are part of a planned history and that a third Selden crisis is imminent. He involves Manlio in his plans to meet this crisis. Sut emphasizes the danger posed by the powerful and uncontrolled traitors and urges Manlio to find a solution quickly. He suggests that Manlio, as the mayor, could lead an independent party that might jeopardize re-election and allow for the combination of the primacy and mayoralty in one person. Hober Mallow meets Jaime Twr, who wants him to join his campaign for traitor representation in the council. Twr convinces Mallow that now is the opportune time because of recent political developments. Mallow mentions his upcoming secret business trip, and Twir suspects foul play from the mayor's secretary. Mallow reveals a Selden crisis is imminent, and Twir agrees to join him on his trip. They plan to meet at the Far Star docks the next day. Coral, ruled by Commodore Asper Argo, leaves the crew of the Far Star board at a rundown spaceport. Hober Mallow sees trading potential in Coral and they encounter a Foundation missionary in need of help. However, Mallow is hesitant to protect him due to conflicting laws. A mob demands the missionary outside the ship, but Mallow threatens them with a gun. He then receives a communication from the Commodore, inviting him to a meeting. Mallow realizes the missionary may have been bait to test their loyalty. Commodore Asper and trader Mallow discuss trade. Asper values peace and his popularity, while Mallow emphasizes unlimited trade and a ruler who prioritizes their people. Asper mentions trade restrictions due to religion, but Mallow assures him his religion is money. Mallow proposes business opportunities with a valuable piece of jewelry. Asper invites Mallow to dinner, excluding religious discussions, and Mallow agrees before leaving. The Commodore sarcastically asked her husband if she could enter the garden, interrupting his conversation. The Commodore assured her she could speak with the young man attending dinner and arrange for his men. The Commodore complained about the expensive dinner and accused her husband of plotting against her father. The Commodore threatened her with harm if she continued speaking against him. The Commodore threatened to expose her husband's dealings with the barbarians to her father. The Commodore gave her a band and necklace, instructing her to stay silent. James Twir worries about Hober Mallow's expression, but Mallow assures him everything is fine and reveals a plan to enter the steel foundry. Twir wonders why there's no evidence of nuclear power in Coral, but Mallow suggests it could be used for war preparations. Twir regrets not being with Mallow earlier and Mallow mentions the need for gadgets for their upcoming journey. Mallow impresses officials with his steel cutting skills at a foundry. He spots a bodyguard with Galactic Empire weapons, realizing the Empire is still active and expanding. Mallow is pleased by this discovery. Hober Mallow handed Senior Lieutenant Drott important items, including an envelope, microfilm, and a silvery spheroid. Mallow instructed Drott to take on the role of acting captain and stay on a designated planet for 2 months. Should the Foundation locate them, Drott was to give them the microfilm. However, if Mallow did not return and they remained undiscovered, Drott was to bring the time capsule to Terminus as the report. Drott was explicitly told not to share any information from Mallow's report if questioned. Following their conversation, a lifeboat was promptly launched from the Far Star. Onam Bar, an old man, meets Hober Mallow, a stranger seeking directions to the government center. Bar informs Mallow that Siwenna is no longer the capital, and proceeds to recount the violent history of the planet, including a rebellion and massacre. Bar's son, who serves in the Viceroy's fleet, plans to avenge the massacre. Mallow reveals himself as a trader in search of new markets and inquires about Siwenna's power generators. Bar explains that the military and techman are in control of them, suggesting the possibility of bribing a techman. Mallow expresses gratitude and departs, only to return later with provisions for Bar. Mallow met an uninterested techman and mentioned a gift he sent. The techman acknowledged it but grew suspicious when Mallow hinted at having more interesting gifts. Mallow revealed a shield and challenged the techman to shoot him. The shield protected Mallow, surprising the techman. Mallow then showed him a nuclear generator, which the techman tested and found to be true. Mallow threatened to use a blaster if the techman refused to show him his generators, to which the techman reluctantly agreed. Mallow traveled to the techman's house on the outskirts of the city. They made their way through an underground passage in silence. Mallow couldn't help but sarcastically ask if the techman trusted anyone besides himself. Curiosity got the best of Mallow, and they inquired about the techman's control over the generators and their functioning. The techman, filled with pride, assured Mallow that he had complete control and that the generators were built to last forever. Mallow pressed further, questioning what would happen if a vital part broke. The techman, growing angry, threatened to kill Mallow. Mallow then asked if the techman could repair the generator in such a scenario, but the techman refused to answer and promptly kicked Mallow out. 2 days later, the tech man's shield malfunctioned and proved to be irreparable. Mallow discusses his plan to run for council with Yael, acknowledging the obstacles he will face, particularly opposition from Jorain Sut. Sut confronts Mallow, accusing him of withholding information about his activities on Coral. Mallow explains that he traded with the Commodore of Coral and made legitimate profits. Sut argues that Mallow's focus on trade and disregard for the Foundation's religion will lead to their downfall. Sut threatens to bring charges against Mallow, including murder, but Mallow remains defiant. Yael warns Mallow that Sut's tactics are aimed at ruining his reputation. Mallow is determined to fight Sut and run for council, regardless of the potential consequences. The council chamber was packed for Hober Mallow's trial, with only one councilman missing. Angkor Yael shared crucial public opinion and Publius Manlio's influence with Mallow. Mallow hinted at a nuclear blaster plan. The trial began. Mallow confessed but offered a different perspective, pointing out discrepancies and implicating Twr and Sut. He presented evidence that swayed the crowd in his favor. Angkor Yael warns Mallow about his complacency with his popularity. Mallow disregards the advice and insists on continuing his show. He asks Yael to have 2 individuals arrested for inciting the outer planet's priesthood. Yael questions the charges, but Mallow doesn't care about conviction, only wanting them out of the way until he becomes mayor. Mallow predicts war with Coral due to their receiving ships from the Empire. He emphasizes the need for him to become mayor and high priest to deal with the crisis. Yael asks how Mallow plans to fight it, and Mallow reveals his strategy of doing nothing, believing inaction is the key to resolving the crisis. Commodore Asper Argo of the Corellian Republic discussed the Foundation's fate with his wife. She criticized his counselors and her father's disapproval, causing the Commodore to worry about his father-in-law's refusal to provide more ships. However, his wife believed that even one ship would be enough to destroy the Foundation. The Commodore emphasized the importance of the Foundation's trade and wealth, but his wife argued that if he had the Foundation itself, he would gain everything, including her father's respect. Finally, the Commodore made the decision to go to war with the Foundation. His wife was pleased and suggested attending the Viceroy's court. As she left the room, the Commodore expressed his deep hatred for her and her father. The Dark Nebula's lieutenant panicked at the sight of the Empire ship. Alarms blared as the crew braced for a fight or escape. They urgently reached out to the Foundation, begging for assistance and alerting them of the looming threat. Mayor Flauber Mallow worries about the trapped ships. Yael expresses concern about Sut and the religionists, and Mallow admits his speech may have helped Sut win the election. Yael advises Mallow to present a strong foreign policy or compromise with Sut. Sut demands Mallow abandon his current policy and return to the old ways. Mallow explains his plan to use trade against Coral and the Empire. Mallow arrests Sut. Yael questions Mallow's confidence in avoiding rebellion, but Mallow assures him he has control. Yael raises concerns about a plutocracy, but Mallow isn't concerned. After 3 years of war, Coral surrenders and Mallow gains popularity.